What's up everyone, welcome back to Just Finished Coding. This is part 2 of our platformer game series on Scratch 3, so let's get coding.
Just finished coding.
Now quick interjection here, if you've not watched part 1 of this series, please watch it before you come here because we're picking up from where we left off and you'll be very lost. I'll leave a card for you right here. Please watch the video and then come right back. If you're still here, I'm going to assume that you've watched part 1, in which case you should be able to move, the platformer about, but that's still pretty boring, and what we're going to be doing in this video is slope detection, wall jumping, and also moving on to the next level. Let's get right into it. To add in slope detection and wall jumping, we just have to do both of those in the X engine itself. So you want to scroll down to your X engine, and you can see we already have some kind of parameter called slope, which we set as 8 initially. So what we can do now is just remove that repeat until loop temporarily, and then you can head over to control and grab this block which says repeat 10, okay? And instead of repeating 10, we can say repeat slope. And what we're going to do in this case is we will be changing, change the y value by 1, okay? And after we change the y value by 1, we're going to check if check if we are touching the level or not. And I'll explain why we're doing this in a second. Just follow me along. So if touching level, then what we're going to do is to stop this script. Not stop all, but I'm going to say stop this script, okay? And if this is not the case, we're just going to allow it to go through fully. And then what I'll be saying is change y by, alright? And keep in mind, we've gone up by our slope until now. So what we can do is to just say change y by 0 minus slope. So just grab 0 minus, or you can just take a -1, which is what I'm going to do. So -1 times slope. So what we're essentially doing is having some kind of a tester where we move up and then see if we're still, touching the platform or not, okay? And the reason we're moving up by just 1 pixel is so that it's the minimum possible, and to make sure that we aren't going too much up and we don't accidentally miss something that isn't a slope and we think it is a slope and then go up. That's the idea. Alright, so what we're doing is saying go up a little bit, and let's just say there's a slope, okay? So what I'll do is switch the costume to be 3, which is where we have a slope. And okay, let me just go to some better position like that. Alright, so what we're essentially doing is imagine our platformer was right here, okay? So first we will be moving a little bit up, and I think we went back up. So first we'll be moving a little bit up, changing y by 1, then we'll check if we are touching the level or not. So in this case, it's pretty obvious that we will still be touching the level. So once again, we'll go through our entire code, we'll loop through, and then we'll change y by another 1 pixel. And then we probably aren't touching the level, and then that means that, well, it's a slope, so we need to move up, and that is only possible if it's a slant. So for example, let's just say we're trying to wall jump right here, okay? Not wall jump, trying to move up this kind of slope where it's just a vertical slope and there's literally no slope at all. So what is going to happen in this case is we change y by 1, we're still touching level, we change y by 1 again, we're still touching the level, then we change y by 1 again, we're still touching the level, and even after we go through this entire slope, we're still touching the level. Now, if we make slope really big enough, like we make slope 15 or 16, maybe even more than that, maybe 25 or something, then we'll probably go through this slope as well. But that's not going to happen if we set our slope to be a small value, and 8 pixels works perfectly. So just trust me on that, and that is going to be a slope detection. Now we can have wall jumping in place. So to do that, here's what you need to do. First, I'm just going to restart so that we have this simple level. And what I'm going to do after this is within our X engine itself, okay, and within this if-then loop, if-then statement, I'm going to say once again, not if, but an if-else, okay? And it's important we do wall jumping in the X-axis, and I'll explain why. So we'll say if key up arrow is pressed. In that case, we'll once again check if the x velocity is positive or negative. So I'm going to say if, if x velocity is greater than 0, well, in this case, it means x velocity is positive, and I'm going to grab that parameter variable from up there, all right? So if the x velocity is positive, then I'll be setting the x velocity to be -8. Yeah, let's just set x velocity to be -8, okay? And if this is not the case and x velocity is instead negative, then we will be setting x velocity to be +8. Alright, and now what we're going to do is to say set time in air to be 0, okay? And that is pretty much it. Within this else statement, you can just say set x velocity to be 0, alright? And you can stop your code right there. Now this is essentially what we're doing, okay? So first, we're touching, some kind of obstacle, and then we check if the up arrow key is pressed, okay? And if the up arrow key is pressed, for example, when we're here, it means we're trying to do some kind of a wall jump, okay? So if that is the case, then we will be checking if our x velocity is positive or negative. If our x velocity is positive, that means we're moving towards our right with the objective of wall jumping. So when we're wall jumping, we move slightly to the left, and then since we're holding on to the right arrow key, we'll come back to the wall, then once again we'll jump like that. If the x velocity is negative, on the other hand, then it means we're coming this way, and then we need to do the exact opposite thing. So when we are jumping from the wall and we kind of bounce off the wall, if you want to think about it that way, we'll be going with some kind of positive value. So this is the essential idea of that. And time in air, this is what makes wall jumping really useful. Because if you think about it, our Y engine is going to be after our X engine finishes, and you can look at the platformer engine for the script, but our Y engine is going to happen after the X engine. So we're going to assume that our computer is going to be fast enough so that throughout this entire time where we go through the statement, the up arrow key will still be held on. And believe me, most computers, like 99.99999% of computers can do that. I'm forgetting about like the 1990s model and stuff. Just make sure you have some kind of modern computer. Alright, so what we're going to do is to make sure that the computer is going to make sure basically that our up arrow key is still held on and it's going to move on fast enough. So when our up arrow key is held on, and I'm going to go to the platformer engine once again. Now I'm not entirely sure where that is. Alright, I think that's here. Okay, so we're going to hold on to that. And here, this statement is going to evaluate to be yes, or true, whatever you want. Because in this case, time in air is going to be 0, and that's going to be less than 4. So what we'll do is set y velocity to be 11, and we'll basically jump. So that's the idea of that. And you may think, why didn't we just have, set y velocity? It's just because this is easier, okay? And the more we hold on to it, the higher we'll jump, which is something we definitely want to have with wall jumping. So that's the entire idea of that. And if you want to test this out, what you can do is to just set, not here, you can just head over to the top of your platformer script and set the level to be 3, for example, okay? And here we have both wall jumping as well as slope detection. So now I can jump, and we had some kind of a strange movement there, okay? So I'm just going to check out my code to see what was wrong, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so I just went through my code, and that took me a while, but I did find out the bugs. So first of all, within your X engine, this should be if not touching level, and I think I explained that correctly, but I accidentally put in the wrong block. So you want to say if not touching level, then we stop the script, because only then will we have, this slope detection which I'm talking about. And after that, you also want to reverse these two things. So you want to have wall jumping right after slope detection before, we do this entire thing where we see if we're touching the level or not. Because if we do this first, then that's basically going to mean that this condition where we are touching the obstacle is never going to be true, and that's why it's important to have this before. Okay, so just put that in. And lastly, you want to scroll up to your Y engine, and after all of this, you want to set your Y velocity back to 0. So it's just kind of like a one-time thing where we're jumping up. So set Y velocity to be 0. Perfect. So now when we run our program and now we test it out, you can see that boom, we have wall jumping. And what I'll also do is test out our slope detection, and that's kind of pretty hard because my computer is extremely laggy right now because I'm doing a recording at the same time. But okay, let me try this out once again. So I'm going to jump up. There we go. Jump up once again. And there we are. So that is slope detection, folks. And maybe it's not the smoothest kind of slope detection. And the smoother you want it to be, like the less that has to be. But anyway, I think that's going to work out for now. And since we're going to have, obstacles and stuff here, that's really not going to be, that kind of jittery thing is not going to be that noticeable. So I'm going to leave it right here. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave a like. And also don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.